I wiped the sweat from my brow as I hammered another fence post into the dry earth of Grandpa's old farm. From where I stood, I could see my sister's mansion perched high on the hill, its gleaming white columns and perfectly manicured lawn a world away from my weathered farmhouse and dust-choked fields. Still playing farmer, Emma? I turned, finding Diana leaning against her shiny Mercedes, dressed head to toe in designer clothes that probably cost more than my entire yearly income. No surprise, she never called, never texted, she just showed up whenever she felt like reminding me of my poor life choices. "What do you want, Diana?" I kept my head down, hammering the post with steady precision. "Mom and Dad wanted me to check if you've finally come to your senses," she said, wrinkling her nose at the smell of fresh manure. "You can still sell this worthless plot and come work at the family investment firm. Even an entry-level position would be better than." She gestured dismissively at the farm. The same words I'd heard 100 times since Grandpa Jack died 3 years ago. He had left the family's prestigious investment firm to my parents and Diana, but his 200-acre farm, this dusty, dilapidated plot, he'd given to me. Everyone thought it was some kind of punishment for not joining the family business. Only Grandpa and I knew the real reason. "The farm's not for sale," I replied, as if the words were carved in stone. "Grandpa wanted me to have it." Diana laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. "Yes, because you were his favorite failure, the Stanford grad who chose to play in the dirt instead of making real money." She wasn't wrong about Stanford. I'd graduated with honors in environmental science and agricultural engineering. My family had expected me to use that degree to climb the corporate ladder. Instead, I'd fallen in love with Grandpa's sustainable farming methods and his peculiar fascination with the land's geology. "Some things are worth more than money, Diana." "Really?" She raised an eyebrow, her gaze flicking over my worn jeans and scuffed boots. "Is that why your clothes are from Target and you drive a truck older than you are? Face it, Emma, Grandpa played a cruel joke leaving you this dust bowl." I thought about the secret project Grandpa and I had worked on together during my college summers, the soil samples, the geological surveys, the late-night conversations about the untapped potential buried beneath these fields, but I kept my expression impassive. "Don't you have a hostile takeover to manage?" I asked, pushing the words out with forced calm. "Actually," she smirked, "I just closed a deal worth $50 million. What did you make this month?" "Enough to keep the lights on." The farm barely broke even, but Grandpa's last words were the only thing keeping me from walking away. "Patience, Emma," he'd said, with a twinkle in his eye. "The real treasure isn't always what you can see on the surface." Diana's phone chimed, a reminder of her ever-important business life. "Think about my offer, Emma. Mom and Dad won't keep it open forever." With a dismissive wave, she climbed back into her Mercedes, raising a cloud of dust as she sped off. That evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Diana says you're still being stubborn. Don't throw your life away on that worthless farm. What will people think?" I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out Grandpa's old leather journal, thumbing through his meticulous notes one more time, the geological surveys, the soil compositions, the underground formations he'd mapped over decades, and most importantly, the letter he'd left for me, tucked inside his will. "Dear Emma, keep the farm no matter what they offer. I spent 30 years mapping what lies beneath it. The geological surveys are in my safe. You know the combination. When the time is right, call James McKinley at Western Resources. Show him my research. But wait until you're ready. Patience is everything. Love, Grandpa." I'd spent 3 years learning every inch of this land, updating Grandpa's research with my own observations, and last week, I finally called McKinley. His team was arriving tomorrow. My phone buzzed again, this time from my father. "Your sister just closed another major deal. Meanwhile, you're wasting your education playing farmer. We raised you better than this." I smiled, thinking about the team of geologists arriving in the morning. Grandpa had chosen me for a reason, not because I was his favorite failure, but because I was the only one who understood the vision, the only one who realized that true wealth isn't found in stock portfolios or corner offices. The next morning, I was up before dawn, poring over Grandpa's documents one final time. At exactly 7 a.m., James McKinley arrived, leading a convoy of 3 heavy-duty trucks packed with equipment. "Ms. Bennett," he said, shaking my hand firmly, "your grandfather's preliminary surveys were impressive. If his calculations are accurate." "They are," I interrupted. "I've spent 3 years verifying them." He nodded, a spark of genuine respect in his eyes. Then let's find out what's really beneath this so-called worthless farm of yours. Over the next week, McKinley's team ran advanced geological surveys, bringing in cutting-edge equipment that made Grandpa's old tools seem quaint. Each evening, they debriefed me, their excitement growing as they uncovered more. On the 8th day, McKinley called me to their main survey site. His face was flushed with excitement, barely able to contain himself. "Miss Bennett," he said, spreading out a complex chart on the table, "your grandfather was right. There's a massive oil deposit under your land. Initial estimates suggest it could be worth." He named a figure so staggering that my hands trembled. I thought of Diana in her sprawling mansion, my parents in their penthouse, all of them looking down at this farm they'd once mocked. They had no idea that I was standing on an untold fortune. "How soon can we start extraction?" I asked, my voice calm despite the rush of adrenaline. "We can start the paperwork immediately. Western Resources is prepared to offer." "No," I cut him off. "I don't want to sell. I want a partner. My grandfather left me more than just land. He left me an education and a vision. I want to do this the right way." McKinley's eyebrows shot up, his expression shifting to one of respect. "A partnership? That's ambitious." "I'm thinking of creating my own energy company," I continued, my voice steady with purpose, one that combines sustainable oil extraction with responsible land management. A grin tugged at my lips as I thought of my family's inevitable reaction. "But first, I need to make a few phone calls." 2 months after McKinley's discovery, I sat at my newly renovated farmhouse office, surrounded by geological reports and business plans. The local news had caught wind of the discovery, and my phone had barely stopped ringing since the story broke. "Emma," my mother's voice screeched through the phone, "why didn't you tell us? We're your family." I glanced at the front-page newspaper on my desk. "Local farm sits on billion-dollar oil reserve, largest discovery in state history." Beneath it, a photo of me standing proudly next to James McKinley, both of us smiling as we signed the partnership agreement. "I've been trying to tell you for years," I replied, the calm in my voice belying the storm of emotions brewing inside, "about the farm's potential, about Grandpa's research, but you were too busy mocking my choices to listen." There was a long silence, then my mother's voice, cold and sharp, broke the quiet. "We need to have a family meeting tonight. Your father's already called an emergency session with the firm's lawyers." Of course he had. I checked my watch. "Sorry, can't do tonight. I've got a board meeting with Western Resources to finalize the extraction plans." "Board meeting?" My mother's voice cracked, a mix of disbelief and concern. "Emma, be reasonable. You don't know the first thing about running an oil company. You need our help." I thought about the business degree they'd dismissed when I paired it with my environmental science background, about the years spent with Grandpa, not just learning about the land, but about resource management and sustainability. "Actually, I don't," I said slowly, "but you're welcome to come by the farm tomorrow. I'm sure you remember where it is, that worthless plot you've been telling me to sell." The next morning, they arrived in force, my parents in their luxury SUV, Diana in her Mercedes, and 2 corporate lawyers trailing behind in a BMW. They found me in Grandpa's old barn, now converted into a state-of-the-art operations center. Diana's eyes widened as she surveyed the wall of monitors displaying complex geological data and drilling projections. "What is all this?" "This," I gestured broadly, "is what Grandpa and I were working on while you were all laughing at the failing farmer. He spent 30 years mapping these oil deposits. I spent 3 years verifying his research and developing a sustainable extraction plan." "Why didn't you tell us?" my father demanded, his voice tight with irritation. "Would you have believed me?" I countered. "Or would you have tried to take control, just like you're planning to do now?" The lawyers exchanged a quick, uncomfortable glance. My father straightened his tie, trying to maintain composure. "Emma, be reasonable. The family firm has the resources to handle this properly. We should consolidate everything under one umbrella." "You mean your umbrella?" I pulled a folder from my desk and placed it in front of him. "By the way, I had my own lawyers draw up some papers, a restraining order preventing the family firm from attempting any hostile takeover of my operations." Diana let out a forced laugh, clearly unnerved. "You can't be serious. You're really going to try and run an oil company by yourself?" "Not by myself," I said with a cool smile. I pressed a button on my desk, and the barn's large screen lit up. James McKinley's face appeared on the screen, accompanied by several Western Resources executives, ready for the morning briefing. "Miss Bennett," McKinley greeted with a grin, "just wrapping up a family matter. I'll be with you in 5 minutes." After ending the call, my mother stepped forward, her tone syrupy sweet, as though she were trying to soothe a petulant child. Darlene, we're just trying to help. We're family. We should be sharing this together. Share? I pulled out Grandpa's old journal, the leather worn from years of use. Like you shared in the farm work, the research, the years of being called a failure?
That was different,
Diana protested, her voice defensive. Exactly. You didn't know because you didn't care. You were too busy looking down from your mansion to see what was right under your feet. My father's jaw clenched, his face turning hard as stone. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. That oil belongs to the family. No, I said firmly, locking eyes with him. It belongs to the person Grandpa trusted with his legacy, me. I handed them each a copy of my business plan, Bennett's Sustainable Energy, a company that combined oil extraction with environmental preservation. I'm not just pumping oil, I'm revolutionizing the way resource extraction can coexist with sustainable agriculture. They stared down at the documents, at the billions in projected revenue, at the innovative techniques I'd developed by merging my environmental science background with Grandpa's decades of research. You can't do this alone, Diana insisted, her voice laced with doubt. I'm not alone, I replied, feeling a surge of confidence. I have the best geological team in the state, a partnership with Western Resources, and Grandpa's lifetime of research. What I don't need is a family that only shows interest when there's money involved. Before they could respond, security arrived, my new addition to the farm, ready to escort them out. As they walked to their cars, I called after Diana, my voice dripping with calm satisfaction. Oh, and by the way, Diana, about that mansion on the hill, I just bought all the surrounding land. You're going to have a great view of my oil. The next year was a whirlwind of change. Bennett's Sustainable Energy became a trailblazer in environmentally conscious resource extraction. The farm, once dismissed as worthless, was now thriving. Solar panels powered our operations, a sophisticated irrigation system watered the crops, and a portion of the profits went into environmental research and sustainability projects. Diana sold her mansion, apparently. The constant reminder of my success was too much to bear. My parents made several attempts through their lawyers to claim partial ownership, but Grandpa's will was ironclad. No amount of legal maneuvering could alter the facts. Then, one day, I received an invitation to speak at my old high school's career day. The topic, Innovation in Agriculture and Energy, Breaking New Ground. I thought about declining, but then I remembered all the kids out there whose families might be mocking their dreams, just like mine once had. I stood at the podium, looking out at a sea of young faces filled with hope, uncertainty, and the weight of expectation. Sometimes, I began, my voice steady, the richest things in life are right under your feet. You just have to be patient enough to find them, and brave enough to stand your ground when everyone tells you you're wrong. After my speech, a young girl approached me, shy and hesitant. My parents say farming is a waste of time, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. They want me to be a lawyer. I smiled and handed her my card. Come visit the farm. I'll show you how one person's waste of time can change the world. That evening, I sat on my porch, just like I used to, but now, the view was different. In the distance, oil derricks rose, their sleek, modern design minimizing environmental impact. The fields still grew crops, nourished by the cutting-edge irrigation system we'd installed. Progress hadn't destroyed tradition, it had enhanced it. My phone buzzed. Another message from Diana, Dad's firm is struggling, we could really use your help. I smiled as I typed back, my fingers moving swiftly over the keys. The farm's hiring, entry-level positions start at the bottom, just like I did. She didn't reply, but that was fine. I had work to do. Grandpa's journal lay open in my lap, and I was adding my own notes now. Someday, I'd pass on this knowledge to someone else who understood that true wealth isn't just about money, it's about believing in something everyone else calls worthless. Because, sometimes, the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong, it's proving yourself right in ways they never imagined possible.